for details.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
Don't miss the 8th Annual Wing Fest on Saturday, July 26th at Haymarket Park from 5 till 8 p.m. Local restaurants will be serving wings from 5 to 7 p.m. with live music going until 8. Ice cream and beverages will also be available for purchase, and all the proceeds from the event will go to benefit students in the local community. Get your tickets today at wingfestlincoln.com and make sure you attend the 8th Annual Wing Fest at Haymarket Park on July 26th.
T-O-double-D, what's cracking?
I need your help, Snoop. I'm really sick, and I can't get enough free chicken finger day.
I got you. Yo, happy National Chicken Finger Day, homies and homegirls. Get you a free chicken finger with your Raising Cane's box combo on $7.27, you heard? Make it a perfect combo with a copy of my latest album, Is It a Crime? Streaming now. Happy National Chicken Finger Day to all, and to all a good bite.
Get one free chicken finger in each box combo. Purchase July 27th, 2025.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefit package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer, Jay Foreman. Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is The Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
That it is. Welcome into On the Block. Austin Norman and Jay Foreman with you live from beautiful Las Vegas. Big thanks to Ellie holding down the fort back at Ticket HQ for us for the next few hours or so. Jay, long time no see. We shared a flight. We went our separate ways, and here we are, reunited, and it feels so good. How we doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing?
You know, Vegas didn't get enough of me. I thought I'd had enough of Vegas come April 8th. But you know what? Vegas said, nope, you're coming back. But no, it's been good. It's been good. Pretty smooth travel stuff. Just minor hiccups here and there. So really appreciative of everyone who's made the trip go smooth so far. DP and I chopped it up. We waited for our rooms to get ready. Chatted some college hoops, some NBA, all sorts of fun stuff. But of course, we are out in Las Vegas ahead of Big Ten Media Days. We are less than 24 hours away from the official start of the event. Really looking forward to getting that going. That'll be a big topic, obviously, throughout the rest of today. And don't forget the schedule for the next few days. We'll obviously have On the Block and Old School like normal here today. And then tomorrow, everything after early break will originate with us here in Las Vegas. Nick and I will hop on the drive. Then it'll be the four of us that are out here. Me and Jay, Nick, and DP, obviously, will be the ones carrying you through with everything you need to know about Big Ten Media Days, everything you need to know from Big Ten Media Days. Got a great list of people coming in terms of the coaches, the student athletes, obviously athletic directors, and Commissioner Tony Petitti, among others, here in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay. And Jay, I think that's a good jumping off point for us here today. When you look at the Big Ten as a whole, as a conference looking ahead to the 2025 football season, what do you think is the biggest storyline for Big Ten football entering the media days here in 2025?
I think the new look, I guess, new version of Ohio State, how they walk in. Obviously they always have a lot of pressure, and they're ranked preseason #1 by a lot of prognosticators. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react to being a national champion. And I know from experience it is different, and your off season is different. It's shorter, but it's longer, and you can get a little bit lazy off of the plethora of pats on the back, and so that's going to be interesting. And then also I want to see, I'm really excited to see my man Jet Fish. I had to leave last year a little bit early. I missed him. I'm going to make sure I see him this year because I think Washington could be a sneaky good team. And then, who is it going to be, I guess, of the OGs of the Big Ten, right? Who's going to be that next team? Is it really going to be Penn State with 2 of the top 10 running backs in the nation, right? The #1 guy and then the number 6 or 7, according to Phil Steele, and there is some tread on those tires with that. They got a ton of offensive linemen ranked high too as well. Is it Nebraska? Is it Illinois? Is this the year they make a huge jump of being in that top 4 outside of the Oregon, right? So let's just think who can really, knock on the door, or is it the same old same? Michigan, Sharon Moore is just Mr. Sharon Moore is an interesting guy. He's going to be interesting. Second year, you got to think he had the Big Ten media day last year. He didn't have a contract. He had one, but it wasn't signed. And I'm sure it was obviously just trying to get the little, small print taken care of. But interesting to see how he comes in. This is really his program now. Last year was kind of a little bit of holdover from Jim Harbaugh. So there's plenty of big things that's going to be out there. Then also, what does Nebraska look like, and what do they say, and what does everybody else think of Nebraska versus what we think?
I'm glad you bring up that last part there about Nebraska, but also about the middle of the Big Ten. That, to me, I think is the biggest storyline that I'm going to be watching out for. What do these coaches of those teams kind of in that muddled middle have to say about their teams? We know that this is sunshine and rainbows. Fall camp hasn't started yet. It's right around the corner, about a week away from Nebraska's. We're a month and 7 days away from the season opener against Cincinnati. But Jay, I think there's a couple ways that you can measure the strength of a conference. #1 is at the top. How good are your best teams? We know that 2 years ago, it was Michigan winning the national championship, then Ohio State winning the first 12-team edition of the college football playoff. We know Oregon has factored into those discussions recently, Penn State as well. We know that there's strength at the top of the Big Ten. They can play with anybody in the country on pretty much any given day. But then the next portion of strength is how many of your teams can to toe with the team that would finish in the same spot in the conference standings as them in the SEC. Maybe the ACC, but especially the SEC, as these two conferences really continue that arms race. And I think that's wide open, right? I mean, I think that the pretty clear top tier of the Big Ten is Ohio State and Penn State going into this year. Oregon replaces a lot of the youngest teams with one of the lowest amounts of returning production. Michigan has all sorts of questions still stemming from everything that happened a few years ago. The way Harbaugh left, a lot of optimism with how they finished out last season. Sometimes that carries over, sometimes it doesn't. But you give Oregon and Michigan the benefit of the doubt, and then it's a bunch of we'll see. I think that you and I, as we read more and more about Illinois and Indiana, we were certainly impressed with what they did last year, but those are programs that aren't accustomed to success. Their coaches are, right? Bielema and Cignetti have been successful in their careers, but those are programs that haven't been able to string together a whole lot of success in prior years, right? Iowa's always going to be lurking around the conversation. USC feels like a make or break year for Lincoln Riley, but that's a big buyout that they'd have to pay, right? Washington, I think, is interesting. You can make a case for Wisconsin making a jump, Nebraska, Michigan State, all that conversation. We feel pretty good about the top handful of teams in the Big Ten, like we know who they are. But every year there's a team or two that ends up pulling a surprise, a la Indiana last year. And I think it'll be really interesting to see as we get into late September, early October, setting themselves up for a chance to have that storybook run and be that third or fourth representative for the Big Ten in the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's crazy when I'll start at the back end with you with Indiana, is that if they don't back it up, and I call it validate last season, they could be right back where they were before they hired Cignetti. And it sucks because last year was a magical year, a program changing year, but I don't think they get the benefit of the doubt. And same with Illinois. I think the years that Illinois isn't supposed to be good, they end up being really, really good. Kind of like Northwestern. I think they do have enough talent. I like the quarterback. I like what they have at tight end and receiver, but it's going to be ultimately what's going to happen with that defense. They lost a lot as well. And I want to really talk about Oregon. You know, as I'm reading my man Phil Steele right here, and I keep looking down, I wonder if they're legit. You got to think Bo Nix and who was the other quarterback? Just and Dylan. Those are two All-American quarterbacks. And then the receivers, you know, obviously one came with Bo Nix, and they had another receiver that came with Dylan from Oklahoma as well. So now it's Dante Moore, right? Remember, they got him from UCLA, sat on the bench, learned, and this is it. But you don't have a veteran quarterback that essentially resets the table. They had two defensive linemen drafted. Now they do have a deep defensive line, but the defense overall last year was average at best. So now what is going to happen offensively when you lost a lineman as well, first rounder that went to the Commanders, and then also an interior guy late in the draft as well. That's really when you think about it, right? You got to think James Franklin, rinse and repeat. Ryan Day gets the benefit of the doubt. I'll even go as far as saying Michigan gets the benefit of the doubt that they'll bounce back and have 8, 9, 10 wins, right? And then the middle is going to be exciting because that's where your hay is made. That either makes you better than the SEC and clearly better than the ACC or right along in the middle of the road. But I think Oregon, along with Nebraska, really are going to be the litmus test of where the Big Ten is this year.
I tend to agree. A couple things from our Starter Hema Jewelers text line. Let's start with texter 1171. He says Wisconsin is going either 3-9 or 4-8. I don't know about that. That would be close to the end for the Fickle era after just 3 years, I would guess. And then Iowa will be number 4 in the Big Ten. That's his prediction. But then, Jay, he wants to know what you think about the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Not a lot of people talking about them, and I think that's kind of the thing. They're flying under the radar. They're breaking in a new starting quarterback, new defensive coordinator as well, I believe. So there's change there at Minnesota, certainly. But I think if you've started writing PJ Fleck and the Gophers off, that's probably bridged too far. I think that's a really consistent 6+ win program now. I don't know how they get there. I don't know who they beat. But I guess my assumption is that Minnesota ends up going bowling at a bare minimum.
Yeah, well, they're bringing in either Drake Lindsey or another backup, or another guy to be the quarterback. I think it's going to be Drake Lindsey. But I'm going to tell you right now, PJ Fleck is always dangerous because of Darius Taylor, and he is legit. They had to spend a lot of money to keep him, and their defense, even though they lost their defensive coordinator, I think to Michigan State. Either first year, the one last year to Michigan State, at all 3 levels, they have studs. So the defense is going to be a problem. And when you look at it, they go 6'6", 310. They have one of the best middle linebackers at Maverick Barnowski. He has just a linebacker name. And then they probably Cora Parrish, who should have been a top like 25 recruit. He is an NFL first-round draft choice. So when you're tough up the middle, along with being able to run the ball, they're going to be legit. Now it comes down to how they do in those first 3 games, right? Where you look at their schedule. Buffalo, that's a Minnesota special, right? On a Thursday, 28th, even though they play second fiddle to Nebraska. Northwestern State, okay, you think they're going to win. At California, they get off the 3-0 start. They come out of the bye week, play Rutgers, and then they go at Ohio State. They would like to leave Ohio State Columbus with a victory in the sense of they are closer to competing with them. They played their game. They didn't get overwhelmed by the moment. And physically, they either won or didn't lose the line of scrimmage. 4-1, then they play Purdue. And then they figure, you know what, this is our bell cap game at Nebraska and be bowl eligible. So, but if they lose to Nebraska, or when they lose to Nebraska per se at home, Nebraska goes on the road and win, then it gets harder for them, right? This is where PJ Fleck either does his best work or his worst work. You go at Iowa, who wants some revenge, right? So let's just say they go back-to-back losses. Now you're looking at 5-3. The sphincter muscle gets a little tight. Then you got a must win at home against an up and coming Michigan State team. That's another team that we need to think about because they played everybody tough. Another bye week, and just think you could be 5-4 at Oregon, most likely get bowl eligible at Northwestern, and then you got let's call it the founders game. And I call those founders games in the sense of they found you, paid your contract, re-upped your hey Austin, re-upped your contract, and those founders do not want to go into Thanksgiving losing to Wisconsin at the crib. So that I call those founders games that you have to perform well as a head coach, and so we'll see what happens.
Minnesota, I think, is always factory. I think they do have that pretty high floor. Things considered for them, it's more about the ceiling. But if that's the situation for Minnesota, Jay, it would feel a lot like what Nebraska's gone through the last couple of years. Get off to a good start. That's where you hope that you've banked some wins to get you on the road to bowl eligibility. And I think PJ Fleck's teams have done a pretty good job of playing their best ball toward the end of the year. So I'm not so sold on Northwestern. We'll see what kind of state Oregon is in, if injuries catch up to them or not. And I mean, the Wisconsin game, right? That could be a big game for Minnesota this year. But man, I really am so curious to hear the tone from Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. He and Matt Rule have similar, if not the same, records, except they did it in reverse, right? Fickell bowling in year 1, Matt Rule bowling in year 2. And so even though the records are, very similar, if not identical, I feel like there's more optimism around Nebraska than there is Wisconsin. Yes, I know we're in Nebraska, right? That's the ecosystem that we're in. Even if you just look at it superficially from the outside, I'd rather Nebraska's position, taking that step forward in year 2 and step back. And it feels like, Nebraska, yes, it made the switch to Dana Holgorsen at offensive coordinator, but it feels like Nebraska has a better idea of who it wants to be. Not who it is yet, right? No one really knows exactly who they are. But man, with all the chatter still coming out of Wisconsin about what does Luke Fickell want to do with this offense? What's the identity of this program? I don't know if Nebraska has an identity yet, but it sounds like they're a lot closer to finding one than Wisconsin. And I would feel a lot better about Nebraska's chances this year than I would Wisconsin's.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. And this isn't just because, we're on a Lincoln station and we obviously see and hear Matt Rule, is, quite often, or just, kind of hear the chatter. I don't think Luke Fickell, it's weird because obviously he's a Big Ten, guy. He was a really, really good player. He's coached and was a head coach for Ohio State after Tressel, and then defensive coordinator as well. He learned under Urban Meyer. Mm-hmm. But he's up there, and I think he really got stuck in a rock and a hard place. And I think not having an identity off the get-go, or at least a clear vision of it, I call it a blueprint, I think the culture is taking a little bit of a downturn. And so it is a crucial year for him. The schedule is the number 1 schedule, which doesn't bode well, which on the flip side, there's so much optimism because Nebraska's schedule by the ranking people is the easiest. Whereas Wisconsin, I wouldn't say in a make or break year, but if it goes down to like a 3-9, you're going to be broken. And they're going to be talking about how to, how to get out of that buyout. So I think there's more optimism, and it's realistic. It's not just a normal Nebraska fandom. I think people look at Nebraska, what they're doing, and I'm looking at Phil. I like Phil Steele in some of the stuff. It's good reading material when you're on the porcelain throne and stuff like that. But I think when you look at Nebraska's players, and I'm big on the national rankings or draft eligible guys. Nebraska has 4 guys. Wisconsin has 1, and it's an offensive lineman, which is just rinse and repeat. So that lets you know where Wisconsin is. They spun their wheels. Unfortunately, Vance Like, as a quarterback, got hurt. Then they tried to run the ball last year without a running back when they had one the year before, and the defense really wasn't as good. So I think it's a make or break year, whether they like it or not.
You mentioned that schedule. Let's just give people a rundown. They host Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee before they make the return trip to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama, who has the highest percentage of blue chips in the country. 89% of Alabama's roster according to CBS Sports' word. The high school guys they've recruited, 89% of them are 4 and 5 stars. That's a pretty good base for Kalen DeBoer to be building off of in year 2. So you go to Tuscaloosa, you come back, you'll host Maryland. You do get a bye week there after week 4, but then you go to Michigan, you host Iowa, you host Ohio State, you go to Wisconsin. That is a brutal 4-game stretch. And now Wisconsin of years past, you feel like you like their chances of making at least a couple of those games interesting, and who knows, they still might. But I think right now, if you flip the coin, you would probably end up flipping it more to Wisconsin losses in those games. Then you get another bye week between going to Oregon and hosting Washington. Then you go to Indiana, host Illinois, and then go to Minnesota. Like you said, Texter 1171 says, find me 4 for sure wins in Wisconsin's schedule. And there's nothing for sure ever, but that is a gauntlet. And that's fine if this is year 3 of a program that has an identity, that knows who it is and what it wants to do. But when you're still trying to figure yourself out, that is not the schedule you want to be staring down the barrel of.
Man, that's crazy. I'm just looking at it right now, and after Maryland going into your first bye week, you feel like, and this Maryland ain't gonna be no punk. So you're 3-1, right? Just on the best case scenario, 4 is your best 4-0. Most likely not gonna go all the way down to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, no matter what they got going on, or Nick Saban's coming back or not. Then you come out of the bye week, you go at Michigan. That's not a good set. Then you come home against Iowa, Ohio State, right? Your best bet is try to beat Iowa, because Iowa's going to always if you just don't let them block a punt, return a punt, fumble, or whatever, the game's going to be close. But Iowa upgraded at the quarterback position. So now you have to be a little bit on your heels. You go at Oregon, and it's not just that you can't, most likely don't match up with Oregon. It's the travel and your style of play, right? Mm-hmm. Bye week, you got Washington at home. That's a must win. And then you got at Indiana. That's an upset victory. And then you got to have a coin flip. You're going into the last 2 weeks and saying, we need one game. We need one win. If they can get to 6-6 or better, it's a step in the right direction. The selling point to the Founders, like we were talking about for Minnesota, is if it came down to it, they go to Minnesota, kind of like they, dookie down their leg at Nebraska, get the victory. And you go, and I tell the Founders, or the, obviously the people that donate, and the powers that be, Board of Regents or whatever they call them at Wisconsin. Look, we had the hardest schedule, and we got 6 wins, and we broke in a new quarterback. We're a very, very young team, and we lost a lot of guys to the next level. I think we're on the right direction, because we're going to be looking at 8 to 10 wins next year, no matter the schedule. But they got to find a way to get to 6. And if they do get to 6, I think all the pitchforks and fires outside of Luke Fickell's house need to go away.
I completely agree. We'll get into this a little bit more coming up here in our next segment, but I think helping programs like Wisconsin and like Nebraska is that they don't have to win the league anymore to get college football playoff access. You just have to be good enough, right? Obviously, you're going to want to shoot higher than 4th in the conference, but you set your goals on winning the conference. You miss out on a couple breaks. You lose a couple games here or there. It's not going to kill you if you handle business, win one game that maybe you weren't expected to. At the very least, you'll be in the conversation. Let's talk about that when we get back to On the Block. We have the preseason media poll from Cleveland.com. They do this every year. Some interesting rankings, 1 through 18. We'll give you what some local media covering the Big Ten views as how the Big Ten will shake out in 2025. He's Jay Foreman. I'm Austin Norman. This is On the Block, brought to you by the Mercado.
Follow Austin Strick and On the Block on Twitter at Austin Orman, eStrick20, and On the Block 93.7. More of On the Block coming up.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Don't miss the 8th Annual Wing Fest on Saturday, July 26th at Haymarket Park from 5 till 8 p.m. Local restaurants will be serving wings from 5 to 7 p.m. with live music going until 8. Ice cream and beverages will also be available for purchase, and all the proceeds from the event will go to benefit students in the local community. Get your tickets today at wingfestlincoln.com and make sure you attend the 8th Annual Wing Fest at Haymarket Park on July 26th.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today: showers as much as possible this afternoon. Otherwise, we'll see partly sunny skies. Will be hot with a high near 97. Tonight, showers as much as possible. The low around 76. And tomorrow, we'll see mainly sunny skies. Be breezy and hot with a high around 99. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fleck from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Take control of your health with the DASH scan at Advanced Medical Imaging. The DASH scan is a full-body MRI designed for advanced health screening. This dynamic approach provides exceptionally sharp images across multiple organ systems, helping to detect potential concerns early. With minimal radiation and no invasive procedures, the DASH scan offers a safe, comprehensive look at your health. Plus, results are delivered faster than ever, giving both patients and physicians confidence in screening and diagnosis. Your health is too important to wait. Schedule your DASH scan today at Advanced Medical Imaging. Visit amimaging.com or call 402-484-6677 to learn more.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
The 2026 Love Omaha volleyball season is coming, and memberships are on sale now. Catch your favorite stars, Lexi Rodriguez, Jordan Larson, and more with a guaranteed 8 home matches right here in Nebraska. Season memberships start at just $112. That's unbeatable value for world-class volleyball. Don't miss a moment of the action. Go to lovb.com/season and grab yours today. That's lovb.com/season.
T-O-double-D, what's cracking?
I need your help, Snoop. I'm really sick, and I can't give up free chicken fingers on National Chicken Finger Day.
I got you. Yo, yo, yo. Happy National Chicken Finger Day, homies and homegirls. Get you a free chicken finger with your Raising Cane's box combo on $7.27, you heard? Make it a perfect combo with a copy of my latest album, Is It a Crime? Streaming now. Happy National Chicken Finger Day to all, and to all a good bite.
Get one free chicken finger in each box combo. Purchase July 27th, 2025.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jake Foreman, and Austin Orman.
That's right. We're back during On the Block. Austin Norman and Jay Foreman with you. A lot of football on tap for you here from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas. A huge thank you to everyone who's making it possible for us to be here covering it. We'll make sure to give them shout outs throughout the rest of the show and moving forward throughout the week. Jay, let's turn our attention, though, to the preseason media poll as put together by Cleveland.com. It starts at the top with maybe a little bit of a surprise, and that's that the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes were not picked as the number one team in the conference. That honor instead goes to Penn State. Do you understand that pick? Would you have put Penn State ahead of Ohio State, or would you have given more deference to last year's national champs?
Man, that's tough because I would probably. I think I agree with it because Penn State brings back the quarterback and two excellent running backs, where Ohio State lost their quarterback and two excellent running backs and a couple offensive linemen to the first round. But they have the ultimate X factor in Jeremiah Smith, who could make us look like first round picks. But so I like it for Penn State. I think they have a little bit of sentimental feel there because I think they've let everybody else down, including myself, costing me 6 steak dinners. But then also, I think they feel like Penn State has been knocking on the door. I felt like they were closer last year, in the Big Ten championship against Oregon. Mm-hmm. And if there's ever a year that they can take a real big leap in the college football playoffs and make some noise, it could be this year. So I like it. Even though as a former national champion, I like being given the respect of being preseason number one.
It's hard for me to not put the defending champ at preseason number one. But if you look on paper, I think it's completely defensible, right? With everything Penn State brings back, with the addition of Jim Knowles as well, a defensive coordinator, that's still wild to me, Jay. The Jim Knowles would leave a national champion team. It's not like he lost all sorts of talent. Yeah, you're going to graduate some guys when you're Ohio State. You're going to lose them to the NFL draft. But man, two of Ohio State's representatives at Big Ten Media Days are from that defense. Obviously, Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles as well. Those are two incredible dudes to try and build the back line of your defense around. They're going to have horses up front to control the line of scrimmage. I don't want to say there's anything going on at Ohio State. I have that on no authority. But man, to spend just a couple of years there and then dip as soon as you win a national championship, that's still a little bit odd to me. And without trying to make too much of it, it just lead me to wonder if there's something there or if it was just too much money, maybe a potential next in line promotion, whatever that is for Jim Knowles, who has a track record of doing this sort of thing, right? I mean, he had one of the best defenses at Duke in program history, Oklahoma State for a while, then Ohio State as well. So I think that's really interesting. Number 3 in the conference, Oregon, no surprise. Then we get to this tier here of teams 4, 5, and 6. According to the media covering the Big Ten, they have Illinois at 4, Michigan at 5, and Indiana at 6. Do you see that the same way?
Oh, man, that's tough, man. It's, a little bit about Jim Knowles. You got to remember a couple of years ago, he came under some heat as far as the lack of creativity and coverage because he kept getting beat in man-to-man coverage and he needed to run zone. And then when he ran zone, he needed to run man. But he did recover. Now, to that 4, 5, and 6, I think it's interesting. I think we talked about it in the first segment. Illinois is everybody's, belle of the ball, like, maybe Rutgers was last year and what Nebraska might be this year. And so the one team I think that's probably going to play on this disrespect thing is Indiana. I think Indiana is built to last. Now, I don't think they're a year in and year out 11-win team, but I think they're legit. I like what Kirk Cignetti does. I think they're more talented and more physical than people give them credit for. I think they're well coached, and I think they believe in whatever they got going on up there. And so I like where it's like the 4, 5, and 6, and let's go in the 7 and 8. I do not like number 7. I think now they've beaten Nebraska however many years in a row. But I think you think about who they haven't coming back and who we have coming back, and it starts and stops with the quarterback position. Even though I like who Iowa's picked up, but they lost their ultimate X factor last year in Jackson, the running back, who we saw up close and personal. It was just that one play. Otherwise, Nebraska dominated you. I think they need to be flipped, and then also I think USC could probably get up there in front of Iowa. So I like Illinois at 4. I don't think Michigan has shown me anything that would be any different than being at 5. But if I'm Indiana, I think I deserve or I think I've earned the respect to be number 4 preseason based on our body of work and what we were able to do in the portal. You got to think Indiana went and got their quarterback really, really quickly. They have one of the best running backs coming back, and they have not all their offensive linemen, the majority of their offensive linemen coming back. They really have a first-round corner, sneaky good defensive line, and a scheme they believe in. I think Indiana is going to be searching for some respect to come this season.
That's where I'm always curious to know the headspace of these people that are voting in these, because I think there's an argument to be made to have it this way, and you don't want to give teams credit in 2026 or in 2025 for what they did in 2024, right? I hope that at least the way I would look at it is this is what we think about this year. And sure, you're always going to include some of those soft factors, like, well, what's the program history, right? Is this a big enough name to make it believable? But man, there's a lot of continuity on that Indiana team. Not a quarterback, obviously losing Rourke, but I like Mendoza. I think he's pretty good. The 3 guys that Indiana is bringing to Big Ten Media Days all played a role, right? Aiden Fisher, preseason All-American from Football Writers Association of America, and Phil Steele. Right. Mikhail Kamara, first team All-Big Ten last year and an All-American. Elijah Surratt, All-Big Ten in 2024. And those are all guys, Jay, who followed Cignetti from James Madison. Right. I think Indiana has a little bit of that equity built up from last year, and they have enough pieces back. I would have put them at number 4. But really, I think instead of just doing the rankings, I think if we break it down into the tiers, that's where I think it makes more sense. Where to me, there's a pretty clear tier of Penn State and Ohio State. Then 3 through 6, I think, is really a toss-up. You can talk me into any of those teams finishing number 3, any of those teams finishing number 6. Maybe if injuries hit, they could dip below. But then you get into, like you said, that Iowa, Nebraska, USC group. If you go beyond that into the rest of the conference, it goes Iowa 7, Nebraska 8, USC 9. I tend to agree those teams are in a tier together. But then you get to Washington, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Rutgers. 5 more teams from 10 to 13 in the conference. There's a tie between Michigan State and Rutgers. Of the Jed Fish, PJ Fleck, Luke Fickell, Jonathan Smith, and Greg Schiano teams, is there anyone that you would say right now you feel confident about being in that same tier with Iowa, Nebraska, USC fighting for top half of the conference and like fringe, top 25 spots?
If I had to pick one, I'd just say Washington and Minnesota. And I just say I believe in Jed Fish. I think I know him. I believe in what he's doing. He might not be there, but I think if they ever, got a year get going really quickly, especially with a really, really good running back and a better idea what it takes to win in the Big Ten, I like his chances of flipping around. And then PJ Fleck, I talk about the defense and Taylor. That's just PJ Fleck, just who he is, right? But I'm gonna say this: I'm taking Wisconsin out of there. I think 12 is too high for them.
Especially with that schedule.
Yeah, you're right. And as much as that schedule makes them not appealing at 12, that's where I think Nebraska could really jump into that top 4 based on the schedule, kind of like Indiana. But I'm going to get back to my point between Washington, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Rutgers. And Rutgers is out of that. I'll just say this. Between USC, Washington, and Minnesota, I think one of those teams are going to jump up into that top 5. That's what I think, one of them. And Lincoln Riley, I never give him the benefit of doubt. Why, Austin? He burnt his brisket, right? But I just think one of those teams are going to leapfrog, and one of the teams that I necessarily don't believe in, which is essentially Michigan or Iowa, and a little bit of USC, won't hold force. So that'll allow one of those teams to jump up, maybe not top 5, but generally get up into that second or that high third tier, low second tier, and really make some noise.
I tend to agree. Then the other 4 teams at the bottom, UCLA, Maryland, Northwestern, and Purdue. I get why Purdue is at the bottom. I like Barry Odom as a coach, but he's got a long road to hoe for the Boilermakers. Northwestern's going to Northwestern. But, Jay, when I look at the bottom there, I think it tells you just how deep the Big Ten has the potential to be, in that UCLA and Maryland are ranked 15th and 16th in the preseason. And neither of those teams are going to be pushovers, right? We know what UCLA did getting hot toward the end of last year. You know Maryland's going to have athletes, right? Loxley's been around. He kind of knows the drill. Not a good year for them last year. They'll be breaking in new starting quarterbacks at both places. But, man, if you would have told me, blindly where would I have put Maryland and UCLA, I would have said, yeah, they're probably up in that 9-10 range as opposed to down at 15, 16. I think that's just another testament to the relative strength of the Big Ten. And I wouldn't be shocked if one of those teams jumps into the top half of the conference this year.
Yeah. And you got to think, for me, it all starts and stops with the quarterback. Now, whether you like him, love him, hate him, think he's dumb, probably negotiated himself out of a couple million or whatever. I don't know what he was thinking. Is Nico can play, and he can be that dude when his mind's right. And we'll see if this is the motivation and opportunity you need to essentially put UCLA on his back and live up to the billing. That's how they can make a leapfrog. And I'm telling you, man, I said this to you before, and we've always talked off air. Barry Odom can recruit, he can develop, and he can build a program overnight. If you think Purdue is going to be 1-11 again, you're sadly mistaken. I think Purdue, maybe not to the magnitude of Northwestern. I predicted them to go over after Pat Fitzgerald 1-11 or 0-12. I think they're going to flip that script and really surprise people. So I think the Big Ten I think the Big Ten leapfrog, in my opinion. And this is not just because we're in the Big Ten media day. I think the Big Ten is positioned because of what Ohio State was able to do. And without Alabama conceptually not being close to what Bama is, and everybody else kind of just playing footsie down there as far as the SEC. If and when Nebraska, USC, and another team take huge steps, and then everybody else kind of tiptoes their way up, the Big Ten is in the position to overtake the SEC. No matter what Paul Finbaum says, no matter what Sankey says. And then if you can validate it, now look, we're looking into the future in 2026 with the continuation of Illinois, Indiana, all those schools. When it comes time to expand the college football playoffs, now we're talking about Big Ten getting first dibs in 5 versus the SEC. So this is a huge year for many, many teams. The bottom of the Big Ten that we just talked about, or what you just pointed out, have to hold serve or essentially pull their weight, because I think it's bigger than them, and it's remnants of the Big 12 last year, and they have a little bit more of a stronghold than the ACC. If you really look at the wins and losses and the teams and the way that they were able to parlay that off of last year, obviously led by Colorado and the hype machine, and if they can validate it this year, they're in position to knock on some doors as well.
They absolutely are. Let's take our final break of hour 1 of the show. We got some news out of the NBA we'll hit on for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. That is Chris Paul returning to the Los Angeles Clippers. Big news, I think, for the Clippers and for Chris Paul. And then, of course, we'll get back to the college football conversation in hour 2. I mentioned that blue chip ratio from CBS Sports. Who are the 18 schools, according to this metric, that can win the 2025 national championship? How many of them are Big Ten teams? What kind of work does Nebraska need to do to put itself in that conversation? And I know Jay's a golf guy, so we got to talk about Scotty Scheffler. He's making history. Again, Scotty's on a roll. We'll get to that at 4:30. But when we get back, we'll talk Chris Paul back to the Clippers. He's Jay. I'm Austin. This is On the Block, live from Vegas.
Download our app by searching for 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day wherever you are. More of On the Block next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce is complicated. It affects every part of your life, your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions that it can take, it's times like this that you need a partner you can count on.
If you're a man facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today to connect with a local divorce attorney who understands the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Text GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. 1221 N Street, Lincoln. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply, stop to opt out.
This just in, hot off the bench press. Planet Fitness has expanded strength equipment. Save $28 or more when you join today. We're raising the bar with these benches, and our hack squat will have you actually looking forward to leg day. Plus, we're still repping all the best-in-class equipment we've always had. There's no better time to get stronger. So join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more. Just $1 down, $15 a month.
Find your nearest club and join today. Deal ends July 31st.
See Home Club for details.
Tune in to live coverage of Big Ten Media Days from the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, July 22nd through 24th on 93.7 The Ticket. Join Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainert, and Austin Orman as they bring you exclusive conversations with Big Ten coaches, players, and sports media professionals while getting you ready for the upcoming college football season. Big Ten Media Days coverage is presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
The 2026 Love Omaha volleyball season is coming, and memberships are on sale now. Catch your favorite stars, Lexi Rodriguez, Jordan Larson, and more with a guaranteed 8 home matches right here in Nebraska. Season memberships start at just $112. That's unbeatable value for world-class volleyball. Don't miss a moment of the action. Go to lovb.com/season and grab yours today. That's lovb.com/season.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left it once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers. Take control of your health with the DASH scan at Advanced Medical Imaging. The DASH scan is a full-body MRI designed for advanced health screening. This dynamic approach provides exceptionally sharp images across multiple organ systems, helping to detect potential concerns early. With minimal radiation and no invasive procedures, the DASH scan offers a safe, comprehensive look at your health. Plus, results are delivered faster than ever, giving both patients and physicians confidence in screening and diagnosis. Your health is too important to wait. Schedule your DASH scan today at Advanced Medical Imaging. Visit amimaging.com or call 402-484-6677 to learn more.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law Group and find out how we can help get you the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. 877-42-LIBERTY. Liberty Law Group. Trial attorneys you can trust.
Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Just a few minutes remaining here in hour one of On the Block, but that's just hour one of three for me and Jay. We'll have On the Block and then Old School, all brought to you by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Jay, just saw this flash across the wire. I think it's worth a shout out. Former Nebraska defensive tackle Khalil Davis calls it a career at age 28. He was out there on the free agency market, didn't have a deal yet. Best of luck to Khalil Davis in whatever retirement from the NFL holds for him. But guy that's not retiring yet, guy that has more in the tank, Chris Paul, about to enter year 21 in the NBA as a 6-foot guard. He's going back to the Los Angeles Clippers towards the twilight of his career. Clippers are putting together kind of the all 2016 All-Stars now. If you look at Chris Paul, you look at Brad Beal, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Brook Lopez, certainly all still useful and valuable players in their own right. I like this for the Clippers. I think Paul will probably come off the bench behind James Harden. I think that's a role that it makes a lot of sense for him, again, entering year 21. But Jay, let's not gloss over the fact that Chris Paul played all 82 games for the San Antonio Spurs last year, a team that started out with some fringe playoff hopes. Then when Wembanyama goes down with the deep vein thrombosis, he has to shut it down. And that would have been a great time, a great excuse for Chris Paul to say, you know what, I did my job. I'm here to help Wemby. He's out, so I'm gonna hang it up here. Appreciate the Spurs for giving me a chance to play for them, but I still want to play. I don't want anything to happen to me. I get broken down at the end of seasons. Typically, it's kind of the reputation, so I'm good. Chris Paul didn't do that. I think what he did in piloting San Antonio through the end of last year and now returning to Los Angeles with Ty Lue, I think the last couple of years have been a testament to really how Chris Paul has made it through 20 seasons in the NBA. And I think he's got enough juice in the tank to be a contributor for this Clippers team.
Oh, without a doubt, man. I think, Wembanyama, he was a mentor and a great asset. Let's not, he played his role with Fox, came there as well and helped him essentially usher him out of the door. And I'm a little surprised. I'm not surprised he went to the Clippers. I'm a little surprised he did because I thought eventually he was going to get to the Lakers, right? It's a bigger role. It's still LA. Him and LeBron are friends, and they play really, really well together. It's a needed position to kind of be, it wouldn't be too much. He could play 82 games, but not have to lead 82 games. But I think it's a great spot there with the Clippers. I think they're going their whole mindset. I think they were inspired by how they played in the playoffs. They also see what everybody else has done in the offseason, and they feel their veteran presence of guys that know how to win, been in big moments, and played together will potentially put them in the position to possibly win a championship.
Couple stats from Shane Young, who writes about the NBA for Forbes Sports. With Chris Paul officially appearing in all 82 games last season, it was the first time he did that since all the way back in 2015. But, despite the narrative that Chris Paul's always been injured, he's played 50 games every year but one in his NBA career. That was 2009, 2010. Hasn't started all of them, especially not coming off the bench for Golden State a couple seasons ago. But the narrative that Chris Paul is injured really just rears its head in the playoffs more than anything, which makes sense for a guy that's 6 foot and certainly sub 200 pounds like Chris Paul is. But then, Jay, I think we kind of forget just how good a basketball player Chris Paul, was at his peak and still is at, doing what he's asked to do, take care of the ball, distribute, get guys in the right spot, provide veteran leadership. Shane Young tweets this out. Last season was CP3's 9th season with at least 600 assists and fewer than 200 turnovers. 9 of his 20 years in the NBA with more than 600 assists and fewer than 200 turnovers. You put 9 seasons into context. Jason Kidd and John Stockton each had 4 of those seasons. James Harden has done it twice. Isaiah Thomas and Russell Westbrook have never done it. Chris Paul is a guy that received MVP votes in pretty much half his seasons. We forget he was a second and third team All-NBA player for 3 straight years. Second team his final year in OKC, second team his first year in Phoenix, and third team his second year in Phoenix when he played 65 games. What an incredible, career Chris Paul has had to this point, making it about to be 21 seasons in the league as a 6-foot guard and really not taking a whole lot of time off to show his age. He's been pretty darn consistent across the board.
Yeah, when you think about it, I think the injury plague notion comes just because of the playoffs. And they're like frequent. Remember, he went for a loose ball, broke his hand, but he finished the game and actually played really, really good down the stretch. Then he was out for the rest of the series. You got to think also, one thing about Chris Paul, I know we're up against the clock, is he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And he should get a lot more credit for his career than he does at present. But with Steph being another point guard, different type of point guard, LeBron and KD around, he kind of gets, notched down there. But when you go back and look at it, a 6-foot guard that came in and he was killing people as far as points. He could score at a higher rate than he does now. Then he went to Lob City, right? Which really, where he was just a maestro of that, and made the Clippers fashionable, right, and fun. And then then he kind of morphed into Phoenix when he was leading them, and then obviously he's been able to do it throughout his whole career. You talk about pick and roll, kill you with the mid-range game, and play with pace. And then a little bit of edge as well, not a lot of edge, and keeps your assists high and your turnovers down. If you're going to build a franchise with a smaller guard, I always talk about Jalen Brunson struggling. I think you can win a championship with Chris Paul because of the toughness and where he's at in his career.
I tend to agree. I really like what the Clippers have done this offseason, including the reunion with Chris Paul. It remains to be seen how that will play out, obviously, but really like that for both sides. Let's take our final break of this hour. When we get back for hour 2 of On the Block, who does CBS Sports say are the 18 teams that can win a national championship in 2025? We'll give you their list, maybe some surprise inclusions and or exclusions. We'll go over. We'll also talk Scottie Scheffler. Just how good has he been pretty early on into his golf career? Getting a lot of introspective comments from Scottie over the last week or so as well. We'll get into that and more coming up in hour 2 of On the Block. As always, 402-464-5685. If you got comments or questions, hit us up on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line. He's Jay. I'm Austin. Second hour of On the Block from Vegas right after this.
Follow Austin Strick and On the Block on Twitter at Austin Orman, eStrick20, and On the Block 93.7. More of On the Block coming up.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Tune in to live coverage of Big Ten Media Days from the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, July 22nd through 24th on 93.7 The Ticket. Join Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainert, and Austin Orman as they bring you exclusive conversations with Big Ten coaches, players, and sports media professionals while getting you ready for the upcoming college football season. Big Ten Media Days coverage is presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Fairway has fresh cut meats, seafood, cheese, wine, and spirits, and a friendly staff that's always ready to help you find what you need. Stop by Fairway Meat Market today to plan your weekly meals in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's schwissow.com.
Several irrigation contractors in Lincoln go out of business every year, leaving sprinkler system orphans, begging for service. The folks at Judson Irrigation shed a tear for these little fellas. They've been coddling these orphans for more than 40 years. From redesign, repairing, replacing, and restoring, remember the Judson Irrigation Orphanage.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Hi, folks. The weather is for sure heating up, and Coppell Chevrolet GMC is following suit. The discounts are really as good as they've ever been. $14,500 off list price, or 0% financing on select new models. Folks, you heard that right. Smoking hot deals at Coppell. $14,500 off list price, or 0% APR. So take that short drive down 144th Street or at CoppellCars.com. STK number G269520. All deals with trade-in and approved credit.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is on the block with Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet Eric Strickland, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman, middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America, on air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Welcome to it, hour 2 of On the Block. It's the 4 o'clock hour back home. It is just after 2 o'clock where we're at out here in Las Vegas. But it's time for you to text in 402-464-5685. That's our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. Hit us up with your thoughts on the 18 teams that CBS Sports gives a chance or at least some consideration in winning the NCAA football championship in the college of football playoff. Austin Norman, Jay Foreman with you here for another hour for On the Block and then old school as well. Jay, let's start with this blue chip ratio and, how predictive is it? This goes back all the way to 2011. And if you look at all the champions since 2011, of course, you have Alabama go back to back in 2011, 2012. The lowest percentage of 4 and 5 stars a team has had on its roster in a national championship season is Florida State in 2013 had 53%. Clemson in 2016, the first one that they beat Alabama in, had 52%. And then Michigan in 2023 had 54% blue chippers 4 and 5 stars on its roster. Besides that, everyone else has been over 60%. 2018 Clemson 61%. 2019 LSU kind of did a little bit more with less, only 64% of its roster. But then you look back at last year's champion with Ohio State, 90% of the recruits on Ohio State's roster from the high school ranks were 4 stars or 5 stars. We said it going into the year that Ohio State was maybe the most talented team in the country, had a couple speed bumps here and there, most notably against Michigan at the end of the regular season. But it does stand to reason that the more talented players you recruit to join your football team, the better you're going to be. This metric has held up pretty well.
My bad, Austin. I think also when you look at the type of blue chips that they're recruiting, it's different than, I call it the paper champs blue chips. All 5 stars and all 4 stars aren't created equally.
Nope.
And I think when you look at it, Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, I'm sure, Georgia, they shop at a different store and they generally find a way to make that type of their whatever. You know what? I'm gonna give a shameless plug to the Mercado. Every type of meat, every type of cut. Kirby Smart and them make sure they know what's up with them. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's not only who they're going to get initially, it's what they make them into that doubles down on the initial ranking. Also, when you look at Clemson at 52%, Florida State, what they were doing is getting the right lower, I guess, tier star players. So they were getting the legit 4-star football players that maybe didn't hit one metric, as far as, arm length or something on the offensive line or whatever, but they were heck of football players. And then they knew probably their in-state recruiting and their recruiting like radius for Clemson a lot better than the rest of the nation. That's how you do it. And so, yes, Alabama, when you're winning national championships and you're able to go get guys and knock it out of the park with the Julio Joneses and all those, then yes, then you get the return on investment later on. But then also you look at Clemson, had 4 guys, 3 first rounders on a defensive line and plus a middle round guy that actually played good. Then you had the Vic Beasleys before that. You had the Trotters and all that, the linebackers and numerous defensive backs. So they have their way of going about it. It doesn't have to be star laden. But the run that Bama was on, I don't think it'd ever be like that again. It might have been the back end or what you saw in real time of that 2001 Miami team when it was Hall of Famer, first round, second round, third round, a fifth rounder, then end up knocking it out for 10 years. And then all of a sudden you have, Jeremy Shockey and Kellen Winslow Jr. at tight ends and so forth and so on.
When you look at those teams, Jay, that just barely squeaked over that 50% threshold, you look at Michigan from 2 years ago, that was everywhere but quarterback. And not saying J.J. McCarthy wasn't talented. Certainly he came out as a highly recruited guy, but they didn't ask a lot of him. That was talent everywhere else on the field, and he was a game manager. But when you look at what really took Clemson to that next level, and then obviously Florida State in those couple of years where they were at or near the top of the sport, they did exactly what you said, right? Got the legit 4-star guys, 5 stars here and there. But they hit on the most important position. That's quarterback. Florida State was led by Jameis Winston, right? He was a stud, Heisman Trophy guy. Clemson, when did they really take off? You start with Taj Boyd back in the early 2010s, late 2000s, right? He was a stud. Took a couple of years for them to get back to that level, but then college Deshaun Watson almost single-handedly won them that game against Alabama late with those last couple drives. Then the next time Clemson wins a national championship, they're over 60%, but just barely. But again, they hit on the highest-rated quarterback recruit since Andrew Luck in Trevor Lawrence. That's how those schools did it. They dominated their area in recruiting, like you said. They hit on it at the quarterback position. And if you go up and down the list of these championship-winning teams, you see that really the only exceptions to the stud quarterback rule have come recently. Will Howard was passable. He was fine, but that's not a blue chipper that Ohio State recruited. Not the same numbers, not the same process that Ohio State had in the years they didn't win the championship. Michigan, J.J. McCarthy, maybe there was more in the tank, but he was never really asked to show it. Stetson Bennett, probably perennially underrated, but that's a former walk-on turned JUCO turned scholarship guy that had to beat some guys out. But other than that, you go up and down the list of teams that have won the national championship since 2011. Pretty much all of them have a stud at quarterback, and finding that guy that can be at the helm of your offense and that can cover maybe for some mistakes or put his teammates in better positions to make plays, that goes a long way. And if Dylan Raiola can start playing up to his 5-star pedigree as a sophomore, Nebraska is not close to breaking into that 50% or more, 4 or 5 stars ratio. But I do think that your point of dominate your local regional recruiting, understand it better than everyone else, get the best players in your area to your campus, keep them in your program, and then hit on your quarterback that can elevate them. I think that's a legitimate path forward for Nebraska.
Yeah, and you can make some noise, and then if you get a luck of the draw in the college football playoffs, obviously it's a long way before Nebraska gets there. But ideally, it'd be this year. But it just takes a process to get there. Then you can really kind of weave your way through it. And let's not forget Notre Dame as well. As far as the quarterback play, but then it was actually surrounded by excellence on the offense and defensive line, and a good enough running a game, and so forth and so on. And so there is a path to success to be back in the, national, rankings or whatever you want to call it, and be in the mix. You just got to be willing to stick to the process, and then you got to be really, really good. When you look at Clemson, and Florida State back then, and other schools, Michigan, let's take it with J.J. McCarthy, even though he was a really highly rated quarterback, or if you even look at Ohio State this year with Will Howard, I feel like the Will Howard that they got from Kansas State, if you go back to the year prior, it's equivalent of a 4 or 5 star recruit. The leadership skills, the moxie, the undercover, sneaky, really good athlete can't go unnoticed. And so I think with those schools I mentioned before that don't really have the sexy quarterback, and I think Ohio State learned some lessons as well, right? Leadership is definitely a quality. And I think CJ Stroud actually led the charge, is that development across the offensive defensive line, and have a plan in place and a process in a clear and, thought out, identity and culture, I think wins. And you think of Michigan, they got out there, they got blitzed by Georgia. Then they got a little bit better. Then they felt like they let themselves down against TCU, right? Kind of maybe overlooked them, or the intensity, or TCU knew that they couldn't get their signals, whatever it was. They felt like they dropped the ball, right? Well, the next year it was, you know what, the team concept, we're back for vengeance. Everybody sacrificed something to come back. And then JJ McCarthy, actually, I will say this, in big moments, he played up higher than his initial star rankings. And it was a process. And so if Dylan can get to the point to where he's 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions at the most, and say if the interceptions are, I guess there's never a good interception, but one that necessarily wasn't his fault, like, got tipped and, a big hit and it goes up in the air back, whatever it may be, then he's right on his way. Because that would tell me 2 things. Number 1, we're running the ball efficiently and we can run the ball against good defensive teams. Number 2, we're getting off the field at a higher rate and a more consistent rate in money time on defense. And number 3, more importantly, our special teams has or would be able to win us a game, which then boils down to a 20 touchdown, 6 interception year for Dylan, and obviously throwing over 3,000 yards. You're talking about efficiency, and you're explosive enough out on the edge, and you're moving, you're sharing the ball, or you're having a plethora of offensive threats be successful this year.
Let's go to our Starter Human Jewelers text line. Couple things here. Brad makes the point Michigan also had an elite defense. You kind of have to win a national championship, right? I think Michigan was probably the most defense forward of the recent national champions. But yes, you have to be, I think the formula in college football over the last decade plus has been be good enough on defense and be elite offensively, and you're in the conversation. Obviously, you marry elite offense with elite defense, and you're really cooking. Then we get a text from Bob Jave. He says, I think NIL makes all of this data irrelevant. That's just my opinion. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, right? Because high school recruiting, I think, is still probably the lifeblood of a program, although the transfer portal is rapidly approaching that. But regardless of how you acquire the talent, what you see is that it bears out over time, right? Let's not pretend like NIL wasn't happening behind the scenes before 2020, right? It was absolutely going on. We know that pretty much for a fact. We've just decided not to talk about it or admit it, and that's fine. So be it. I think that there are, in some cases, the playing field gets leveled by the transfer portal, by NIL, because there is competition, because there is big money everywhere. And you can see a school like Texas Tech really pop up and say, yeah, we're going to be a national player. But I think that any team, any university, any institution could do that for 1 year if they wanted to. And the reason that the blue chip ratio, I think, is still valid is that it isn't just a 1 year snapshot. It looks at the recruiting classes from the previous 4 years. So right. Yes, all these programs that are at the top, and this is a good spot, I think, to segue into a little bit of the list for this year. The top 4 teams with 80% blue chippers, 4 and 5 stars out of high school. Alabama and Ohio State, 89% of their roster. Georgia at 84, Texas A&M at 82. If you look at those top 3, Jay, especially Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, what makes them so good is both their ability to recruit out of high school that tells you they have staying power as programs, that the brand still moves the needle, that they can retain their talent as well in their developmental pipeline, and that they can supplement it with plug-and-play transfers where needed, right? That was Will Howard, where they didn't feel they had a great answer at quarterback. They go get a guy that they believe could be good enough, could make some plays for him, lead him to a national championship, right? Georgia isn't raiding the transfer portal. That's where, what Indiana did last year, is still the exception, I think, that proves the rule. And recruiting is always a crapshoot, whether it's high school or transfer. Indiana probably had a leg up with so many guys familiar with Signetti, his system. They could really hit the ground running. But what we see year after year based on this data is that any team can compete from 1 year. But if you look up and down the blue chip ratio for this year, there's a lot of the perennial powers, not just in recruiting, but in terms of wins and losses on the field. And the more that you can recruit elite high school players, build that pipeline, what the data shows is the healthier your program is going to be over the long run.
Yeah, it's a very, very important. I mean, when you look at Ohio State, they talk about the money that they spent. It was to retain the players that they developed. They got 2 guys, Will Howard and Caleb Downs, and they kind of fell into Caleb Downs because Nick Saban retired. And they probably originally finished a close second to Bama in his original recruiting. So you get a first-round safety that kind of thanks Nick Saban. You know, he's a great All-American punt returner as well. And so the transfer portal, if you really use it how it should be used in your own situation, it will pay off. I think sometimes, or a lot of times, you see schools try to copycat in Indiana or copycat a Colorado or copycat Ohio State or Bama or Georgia when they aren't Ohio State, Bama, or Georgia. And I think if you really, and this comes down to that identity, Austin, who you are, what your culture is, where you stand in your Big Ten Conference, ACC, you know, SEC, Big 12, you know, group of five or independent, whatever you're at, and really attack the transfer portal and also be willing to take some no's and hold your water until next year. Because then you got to go back onto your development. I think when you just go, here's an example. Say we initially want to go get a pass rusher out of the portal. And we have 6 guys that we have on our list that we'd be happy with. And we need 1 or need 2. And we mix it out on all our top 6. And then the other ones we never really recruited, and you go get number 12. Well, you just wasted time and money, because the time that you could be putting into, you know, Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, developing them to maybe make up that difference for a year to, you know, hopefully hit a home run next year, you're paying for this new player that's really probably not who you want, probably really only came because now you got to overpay for an average player. And if you do that continuously, then you're like, you become frustrated. Then you become extra desperate in the portal. Whereas, you know, here's an example. When Nick Saban needed a next level running back to be more explosive, I think Bill O'Brien was still the offensive coordinator. They went and got Jamar Gibbs from Georgia Tech the very first day and shut it down. And then they got Jamar Gibbs, and then remember the receivers hadn't developed yet, so they went and got Burton from Georgia. And why do you do that? You know the coaches, because the Georgia Tech coach was a former Alabama offensive line coach, and he knows Kirby, so you know exactly what you're getting.
Is that Jamison Williams too?
I think so. Yeah, I think so as well. But I knew those two because that's when the portal, you'd see it and you saw it on the ticker, and it was like Bama hit 1 and 2. All right, we're done shopping. And then you know what? Then you could go right on into your offseason program. You pretty much told your team, say, listen, all right, I like all you guys. We lost a lot of running backs to the NFL. None of you receivers are developed to be at our level next. We got to be back on the come up. We're going to get to, by Friday, they'll be here. See you later. Don't get in trouble. That's it. So I think you're right with the high school rankings. I think if you're really, really consistent and know, again, you got to know what you are. And you can gamble some. When you know and can identify the type of player that you like or want and that you know will be successful in your program, you can take a let's say on paper 4-star that's more potential. Maybe he hasn't been playing football as long. Maybe he hasn't been playing against good competition, and you can be willing to get this 4-star, put him on the bench, and the next thing you know, he's a reputable player in the future. But when you try to live and die just by the stars versus kind of like really what's under the hood, I guess, you can run into trouble. So I think, development through high school is still key. I think the more that you develop through high school, I think you actually become more appealing to transfer portal guys because they all know each other. If you can't, it'd be like, if I was a head coach, I'd get Dylan and he don't play. I can't go get a receiver. You get Jeremiah Smith because of what C.J. Stroud was able to do. And C.J. Stroud had to compete for the spot. And you got to think, then Will Howard comes. Why does Will Howard pick Ohio State? Because I know he had other choices, right? Because they know they're going to have a Jeremiah Smith and a plethora of running backs and an offensive line that's going to highlight his abilities. And so he can be the best Will Howard he can be when they need him, and they needed him most, obviously, in the national championship game.
Last thing before we take a break and then talk some Scotty Scheffler winning the Open at Portrush. Of the 18 teams in CBS Sports' blue chip ratio, 9 of them are in the SEC, 5 of them in the Big Ten. ACC does end up with 3 teams in the ranking: Florida State, sneaks in there with 54% of its roster, Clemson at 55, and then Miami up at 64. And no Big 12 teams in this ranking. And of course, the blue chip ratio is not a requirement to make the college football playoff, right? It's not something you're graded on. And plenty of teams that are sub 50% sneak into the college football playoff, right? Your Indianas that make a run, some of your teams like that. But this is saying teams that have a chance to win the national championship. It's kind of crazy that there is still that divide at the top of the sport. But you look at Texas, a preseason number one, 78% of its roster is blue chip. That's tied with Oregon. I probably trust Texas a little more than Oregon right now. A&M at 82, I don't really trust them. LSU, huge year for them. Notre Dame backed it up last year with a national championship appearance. Maybe the biggest surprises on this whole list to me, though, Jay, were Oklahoma and Auburn. Two pretty big-name programs, both with some SEC recruiting clout behind them. But obviously, Brent Venables, big year for him. Hugh Freeze at Auburn is getting in trouble for maybe hitting the links a little bit too much. I'm not surprised those teams are talented. I am kind of surprised that high of a percentage of their roster is 4 or 5 stars. I don't think of those teams as dark horses, but maybe I should. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, Oklahoma for sure, because I think they probably might, on paper, have the best defense in the nation coming back. For sure, the best defensive line. And that you figure that they're going to figure out offensively, and they've recruited pretty good at at different at quarterback positions. They're all over the nation. They just don't get it right in Oklahoma. Auburn, crazy enough, is always ranked high, but they just can't put it together on the field, and they still get guys drafted. So I'm not surprised by Auburn. But here's why I'm really surprised. This is I'm going to go real quick, to before we get into Scotty Scheffler, because it's my all disappointing list, and Scotty Scheffler never disappoints. Penn State, with that recruiting base, how are you so low, right? My family blood university, number 2, Miami, with that recruiting base, how are you so low? Probably more of a coaching carousel thing and losing that bandwidth in, the Miami area, losing a lot of guys to Alabama and other schools. USC. I think when you look at the other schools like the Texas, and it's just a recruiting base. You can go to a 7-Eleven and find 2 5-star recruits. And then the other one, along with Miami, their brother, is Florida State. I don't care who's the coach. Those 2 Florida schools should never be that bad. USC should never be that low. Penn State, I think, is a national brand, even though I feel like they're located in a unique spot. I think the recruiting base, they own the DMV. So, there's a lot of great players that come out of there. So I'm very, not disappointed, a little surprised that they're all so low. But then also those 4 schools being so low, all those top players have been going to the other schools, which has got them up into mid to high 70s and 80s percent. And so that now you're seeing the byproduct of it. Domination for teams. They're able to go shop in your own backyard. And other teams are looking in the fridge and is looking a little bare that are normally named brands. And so, hey, either recruit or open those paychecks. Either one, those guys are doing pretty well.
And there's not much of a difference between recruiting and opening up the checkbook in some cases these
I
days.
think it's hey, what are you going to pay me? And then tell me what's good about coming to your school. Because I don't care what it is. Listen, before we go to break, these kids these days, listen, man, they will play. Look, they used to be able, I'm not playing in the cold. I got to play on grass. I got to have, 15 uniforms and 4 helmets when I leave and new shoes every year, right? These dudes, if you got them 2 pairs of socks, 4 pairs of cleats, 2 pairs of gloves, and 1 home jersey and 1 away, they coming if you play. And you know what, Austin? They don't even need their name on the back. So you save somebody there. Yeah, they're just they just want to rock a number.
Save it for the player next year. I'm
Right.
here for 1 year. You got to pay to get me to the table. You got to pay to keep me at the table. That's recruiting nowadays. Scotty Scheffler remains at the table in the contention for pretty much every tournament he plays in. What makes Scotty Scheffler so good, and just how historic is Scotty Scheffler's start to his career? We'll talk some golf coming up next during On the Block.
Download our app by searching for 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day wherever you are. More of On the Block next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Several irrigation contractors in Lincoln go out of business every year, leaving sprinkler system orphans begging for service. The folks at Judson Irrigation shed a tear for these little fellas. They've been coddling these orphans for more than 40 years. From redesign, repairing, replacing, and restoring, remember the Judson Irrigation Orphanage.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Fairway has fresh cut meats, seafood, cheese, wine, and spirits, and a friendly staff that's always ready to help you find what you need. Stop by Fairway Meat Market today to plan your weekly meals in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Tune in to live coverage of Big Ten Media Days from the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, July 22nd through 24th on 93.7 The Ticket. Join Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainert, and Austin Orman as they bring you exclusive conversations with Big Ten coaches, players, and sports media professionals while getting you ready for the upcoming college football season. Big Ten Media Days coverage is presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Hi, folks. The weather is for sure heating up, and Coppell Chevrolet GMC is following suit. The discounts are really as good as they've ever been. $14,500 off list price, or 0% financing on select new models. Folks, you heard that right. Smoking hot deals at Coppell. $14,500 off list price, or 0% APR. So take that short drive down 144th Street or at koppelcars.com. STK number G269520. All deals with trade-in and approved credit.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's schwisow.com.
Tune in every Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. for The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters. Sit back and enjoy listening to Dr. Chatters discuss real stories involving struggle, inspiration, and real-life experiences with special guests and insights. Remember, the higher the pressure, the greater the lift. It's The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters every Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Hey, I don't want to hate on Joe Burrow. He's clearly in this tier. I think he's the bottom of this tier. I would go Allen Jackson and then Burrow.
You should be a politician. You just convinced.
You know what I'm saying? You see what he did?
Yeah, he didn't have
He's doing it all the time. It's tricky, man.
Keep going, Jay.
No,
You're speaking my language.
Stop.
You're speaking my language. Come on.
You didn't let him get you, Jay. I can't believe you let him get you again.
Every weekday from 3 to 5 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
We are back here during On the Block. Austin Norman and Jay Foreman with you live from Las Vegas. This segment of the show brought to you by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. They're based out of Hallow, Nebraska, and they offer a free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty on everything while keeping their prices affordable. Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today for more info. You can do that at 402-430-3852, or you can visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Jay, a couple things I think are worth getting into with Scotty Scheffler as he wins the Open there at a Royal Portrush. Tiger Woods took 1,197 days between his first major win and his fourth major win. Scotty Scheffler, by winning the Open yesterday, took the exact same number of days between his first major and his fourth major. Now, Scotty hasn't completed the career slam yet. He's still waiting on the U.S. Open. But, man, we're in Tiger territory with Scotty right now in terms of just how far ahead of the field he is, how many strokes he's gaining, pretty much on a per-shot basis, but certainly a per round basis on his competition. He's shored up the putting. And right now, Scotty Scheffler is on a rocket ship for his career with how much winning he's doing early on. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that it's nothing flashy. He just essentially just really works at his game and really dedicates himself, and he makes the ultimate sacrifice, right? And the sacrifice is doing the fun stuff. That's really what it comes down to. Yes, he's immensely talented. You got to think he went the first 79 tournaments without a win, and then he wins one, and then he was like, "Oh, all I got to do is work a little bit harder than everybody and play with some confidence." These dudes are suckers. These guys want to be on TikTok and all that. I just want to hang out at my house and mow the lawn and do the honeydew list and ball strike. And and then now I think it's an intimidation factor. And it's not the intimidation factor like Tiger was, where Tiger was his presence, right? He changed golf, and he took it to a whole new level. Whereas the intimidation with Scotty is he's prepared. All those dudes. Listen, Scotty Scheffler said he went to the golf course and went home. Tyrell Hatton said he went out after every round and drank 3 pints of Guinness. You lost right there. So really, and Jordan Spieth told you, he said, listen, he's doing things that I wasn't willing to do when I was at the top. So Scotty, and this is not taking away his talent, and that's why he's on this run, because he knows now that he is more prepared than everybody else. Then he knows how to get his game back, and it was putting, and that's always kind of been his a little bit of a weakness, and that's when guys are making all the putts. But he's just going to be there every single tournament. And he said it. I forget what he said. What tournament it was? Maybe it was the Scottish Open or the tournament, the last one in the States. He's like, I didn't finish high, but he's like, I hit it well. So he just goes home and knows he's like, I'm playing good. I just didn't win, and he knows that he can turn it up when he needs to. And he takes advantage of every opportunity he gets. And the biggest stat I think he has is the bounce back stat. He'll get a bogey or he got a double bogey. He comes right back and makes a birdie. Mm-hmm. And I think what it is just as great as he is, or the greatest run that he's on. And he's very humble. He knows, there's a long way to go before you get to Tiger. but he's dominating right now, and he's going to ride this wave and run with it. And is that he's doing everything that you want the modern day athlete to do. Be extremely focused, be even more humble, be more gracious, be more thoughtful, and work hard as you can, and then make sacrifices because you know you're playing for a bigger purpose. That's it. You talk about an old school player. That's it. That's him. He's just a whole home old school guy, and he is kicking the modern day players and mindsets butts up and down the course.
You mentioned a couple of them in Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy. So Dan Rappaport, who's a golf writer, says Scottie Scheffler has essentially equaled Jordan Spieth's entire career in just 16 months. Since March of 2024, Scottie Scheffler has 12 tournament wins. He's won 3 of the 4 majors by a combined 13 shots, and he got the gold medal in the Olympics. That's absolutely incredible. Okay, then you look at Rory McIlroy, right in the conversation for maybe the best post-Tiger golfer with everything Rory accomplished. Scottie's on Rory pace. Scottie won his first major, and this is from NBC's golf coverage. Scottie won his first major one start before Rory. Rory won his second major one start before Scottie. They were one start apart for their third major. They just won their 4th majors in their 25th career starts. And now this is where we see just how consistent and how dominant Scottie Scheffler can become in a couple ways. Number one, it took Rory another almost 40 starts to get his 5th major, which is, no shame in that. There's a lot of good golfers out there. But if Scottie wants to catch Tiger and be in the top 5 conversation, he probably can't be going 40 starts without another major. And then if Scottie can end up getting that U.S. Open and complete the career slam, he's on Rory's tail already. And then that's when I think the Tiger conversation has to come into play, right? Because of how dominant he's been for these last 16 months. You think about Tiger's domination, how he ruled the sport of golf for a while. But I think Scottie Scheffler is not the type of athlete, Jay, that I would worry about getting caught up in the Tiger Woods conversations. He's not caught up in the Jordan Spieth conversations or the Rory conversations. It was incredible to hear this last week and really, for a good stretch of this run, how much golf means to Scottie Scheffler. You can see it in his emotions. You can hear it in how he talks about the game. But then also, Jay, to hear how grounded he is, for how important it is to him, how much he enjoys and appreciates the game of golf, for, yes, how good he is at it and everything that it's given him and his family. You can tell golf isn't the only thing. It's the main thing when it needs to be the main thing. But then when it's time for something else to be the main thing, Scottie is maybe the best in the business just keeping whatever the main thing is, the main thing in its time and in its place.
Yeah, he's doing it to the maximum. I mean, if I'm a young athlete, just forget it, golf. I'm trying to copy that, and it's like what it's called is being present. And when he's at home, he's doing the best thing that he could do. If he's cutting the lawn, he's doing it to his best ability. He talked about when he goes in and works out with his trainer, he puts the maximum amount of effort. Is essentially he's working smarter, not harder. He's working a lot smarter than everybody else. And, hats off to him. He's got a great team around him. He understands, where he's at and also understands the type of run that he's on. And the funny thing, one thing I've learned is professional golfers have bad days. What Scottie Scheffler does, he understands the bad day and he comes back with the same competitive juices the next day and tries to fix it. Whereas a lot of guys will, I'll put the clubs down for a while and not think about golf, and I want to go do, all this stuff. And I think, unlike there was other factors that probably led to Tiger eventually being so dominant, you become the villain, kind of like the Patriots, right? Tom Brady as well. Everybody goes through it. What it should do is inspire some of these young and upcoming golfers to be more like Scottie Scheffler and take him and look like it, like you stare him down, because it's been done before. And Scottie Scheffler, I tell you, when Rory's on his game and his mind is right, he's probably unbeatable. The difference between Scottie Scheffler and a lot of these guys, and this is where he's been able to take advantage of it, and you can look at a football thing, schedule-wise, take advantage of the schedule. Signetti in Indiana, you got to take advantage when you can, is that Scottie Scheffler was never thought of or made out to be as the face of golf. He never had to take the torch after Tiger. He never had to be the spokesman for the PGA Tour versus Live. He never had to deal with the off seasons or the off the course struggles that Roy had to do that weren't his doing. Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka, definitely Dustin Johnson. All those guys didn't want it. They wanted to have fun. Rory probably wanted to be more like Scotty Scheffler, but knew it was a bigger purpose for him to have to take the mantle of the spokesperson for the PGA Tour. So Scotty Scheffler was being able to just chill and bust their head open to the white meat. And he ain't the worst part about him is he'll talk some junk to you though.
Yeah.
Like if you watch it, he'll like if you watch him when somebody hits a bad shot, he's just looking at you like, dang, you garbage. And he does something sneaky too, if you ever watch. And I forgot what player said it. They say he's staying close to you when you teeing off too. Because Scotty Scheffler is a big dude. Like he's a tall dude, right? And he looked just like a regular old dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they say he's staying a little bit in your zone, so you see his presence. So don't get the all shucks, don't let that fool you. He's all shucks kicking your tail, and he's only getting better. And I think it's like I said, he's a great look into if you really love a sport and you love what you do and you love everything else outside of it and you do it the right way, you will be successful.
It's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, especially because it's a team sport versus an individual sport where I'm going here. But a lot of what you said, Jay, reminded me of Steph Curry. Not supposed to be the face of the league, still had elder statesmen, like Steph, or not like Steph, like LeBron and Kevin Durant, even Chris Paul to some degree in the league, to be at the forefront, to be the one speaking out on issues or, being the voice and face of the league. Steph took him a little bit, right? He didn't start as hot as Scotty did necessarily. And again, it's not a perfect comparison, but you think about had to put the work in, became the face of the league for a while, the changing of the game, the dominance. It's not a perfect comparison, but I see some comparisons there between Steph and Scotty.
Well, yeah, it is because you got to think they both have, I guess, got drafted or came into the PGA Tour with some glaring weaknesses or thought of glaring weaknesses. What people don't understand, Scotty Scheffler had a temper.
Yeah.
Like he'll tell you, he's like, he couldn't control his emotions. You see it sometimes too, and it's funny when he's mad. He's like, oh shucks. He one of them type of dudes, right? He really ain't mad. He try to be as polite as possible while he's mad, but they came in with a little bit of weaknesses and glaring, and they were a little bit underdeveloped. So it allowed them to work in silence and work in the dark. And when they came out, they came out and they got the opportunity with Steph Curry, had Mark Jackson that believed in not only him, Clay, and Draymond Green. Now they are, obviously going into Hall of Fame. And then with Scotty Scheffler, was lucky enough to get Bubba Watson's old caddy when Bubba Watson started to really feel himself. And they they just got different personalities. And here comes Scotty with a guy that can lead him to greatness, which he was able to lead Bubba Watson, who was kind of quirky and in a different way, to greatness, and then go from there. And then also another point, you got to think when you look at Jordan Spieth was supposed to be Scotty Scheffler coming out of Texas. Scotty Scheffler was just another great golfer from Texas. Mm-hmm. Now that's the same thing with Steph Curry. All the guys drafted before Steph Curry were supposed to be better than him. So the driving force of these guys and the competitive longevity has probably paid off more than any for those two, more than any other athlete that I could think of in recent time.
I'm going to commit the drive-by as we go to break. Never forget the Timberwolves drafting Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn ahead of Steph Curry.
Oh, hey man! I said, I don't know. First of all, you drafting 2 point guards that can't shoot.
Now, not one, but two of them.
Ricky Rubio, he had injuries, but then once he kind of got a little bit bigger, he was all right. But Johnny Flynn, well, I mean, he played like 4 games in the Big East tournament. Like, this is our guy, and we just drafted this dude. Yeah, trust me. Whoever was that, Kevin McHale?
I think so.
Yeah, so they said there was some mercury in a lot of the walleye that they were eating at that time. At that time, there was mercury in the lakes or wherever he was fishing. His mind wasn't right. Man.
It happens to the best of us, but come on. Ricky Rubio in Johnny Flynn. That's where the Timberwolves ended up. He's Jay Foreman. I'm Austin Orman. We'll wrap up on the block. Get you set up for an NFL heavy old school coming up next.
Follow Austin Strick and On the Block on Twitter at Austin Orman, eStrick20, and On the Block 93.7. More of On the Block coming up.
Load up on meat and more this spring at The Mercado by Certified Piedmontese with great selections of T-bones, tomahawks, ribeyes, filet mignon, brisket, sirloin, and so much more. The Mercado has locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, where you can have $2 draft beer every Thursday night from 4 to 8 p.m. and half-price espresso drinks on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get to The Mercado today for the best meat in town. Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Tune in to live coverage of Big Ten Media Days from the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, July 22nd through 24th on 93.7 The Ticket. Join Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainert, and Austin Orman as they bring you exclusive conversations with Big Ten coaches, players, and sports media professionals while getting you ready for the upcoming college football season. Big Ten Media Days coverage is presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball.
The 2026 Love Omaha volleyball season is coming, and memberships are on sale now. Catch your favorite stars, Lexi Rodriguez, Jordan Larson, and more with a guaranteed 8 home matches right here in Nebraska. Season memberships start at just $112. That's unbeatable value for world-class volleyball. Don't miss a moment of the action. Go to lovb.com/season and grab yours today. That's lovb.com/season. At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Now back to On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
One final segment for On the Block. Austin and Jay with you. Don't get tired of us yet. So got another hour of us coming up during Old School from 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time. It'll be from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific time out here. Final segment of the show brought to you by Love Volleyball Omaha. Renew your season tickets for last year's league runner-up at lovboma.com. You can watch Olympians like Jordan Larson, various national champions, and former Huskers all compete for Love Volleyball Omaha in 2026. Big thanks to Love Volleyball Omaha for sponsoring our final segment and for being one of our 6 wonderful sponsors here for 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Jay, I saw this pop across the wire. Memphis tried essentially to SMU its way into the Big 12 and got told, nah, we're good. They needed 12 out of the 16 schools to vote them in. Sounds like there's not that support on the table. But here is what Memphis was offering to the Big 12 in exchange for membership. This is from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo. He says, Memphis's proposal is described as a no-risk concept. The school would, 1, take 0 media rights distribution for 5 years. They would add their own sponsorship money, as much as $3 million annually to each other Big 12 school. They're backed by FedEx, obviously is huge, and Lowe's has become a big sponsor of Memphis as well. And Jay, here's even the craziest part. So not only would they not take any media rights distribution, not only would they take their sponsorship money and kick some of it to the league, but the third thing that Memphis put on the table just to join the Big 12 is that Memphis would subject itself to expulsion after 2030 if the Big 12 said you weren't adding enough value. Memphis said, we want to be in your conference so bad, we will get screwed 7 different ways to Sunday just to feel like in 5 years we'll have a little bit better financial footing. That is a crazy offer for Memphis to take.
Man, that's crazy. The last part is the worst. I mean, it's like, hey, we're gonna start dating. You don't even I just gotta date you just like on social media. And you know what? Once you get tired, if you get tired of just being my boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, then you could just release me. Like, why would you say you can expose us if it's like you're begging? Like my whole thing is, if you think you're that good to be in the Big 12, you might as well just go independent and just go from there, because then they'll pay you to come. Mm-hmm. Now you're begging. Now you lost all negotiating power and all the Power 4 conferences. You're just a joke because everybody's on the phone. They got on like a call with all the ADs and speaker, and you know how in the movies they put them on put it on mute and everybody's laughing. All the people laughing at him. You'll do what? And then after that, they said no.
Yeah.
Man, that's like telling somebody you coach for free for 5 years, and if I don't win a national championship, you can fire me. They're like, nah, we're good. We're still good. You're horrible. Memphis, man.
And that's a football decision, and it's a basketball decision. Yeah. Really, I would be really curious to know why the Big 12 presidents and ADs are anti-Memphis on that one. Not like Penny has necessarily run a clean program from day one on the basketball side of things, but he still managed to win 20 games pretty consistently in a not elite but not terrible American conference, not the American Athletic Conference. It rebranded today. If Memphis doesn't get into the Big 12 eventually, I'd be a little surprised. But Jay, I also think Memphis is in a pretty good position when you look at football now anyways. If they can set themselves up to be the Gonzaga of college football.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, it's Boise right now, obviously, but they're headed to the Pac-12. But with Boise, kind of out of that picture in fighting for an automatic berth, really you're down to Memphis, Liberty, Tulane as those consistent players with an App State pop in, a Troy pop in, Louisiana here and there. I know Memphis wants that security for other sports as well, but I think Memphis is in actually a pretty decent spot when it comes to football.
Yeah, they're just not in a decent spot. Whoever is calling them, making those phone calls, negotiating. And I think for football, it's really appealing, and basketball, as long as they keep their nose clean. Football, it's like, okay, you know who your competition. Tulane, you figure like, okay, if we play 10 times, we got to win 6. Mm-hmm. Liberty, we should beat the brakes off of them, right? Because we have a better recruiting base. Mm-hmm. And then you got to think Boise might be on a little bit on a downturn. Why not be the fashionable group of 5 school? Because they already have pretty cool uniforms, right? As far as like you can do like color combinations. You already got Lowe's in your back pocket. And you could slowly but surely build your brand to where you also are keeping an eye on the Big 12. And then you can kind of start to make moves so you're already more Big 12 ready. I think this is more of your baseball team is probably garbage. Your softball team isn't. So I know you want to get everybody paid, but your football team isn't as isn't really worth it, because look at Texas Tech is kind of like them, right? They got a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how long Penny's not only going to be there, but let alone they might be on probation. So that's probably what it came down to. So yeah, they had some parts that are appealing, but they didn't have everything, their ducks in a row, I think. And then the desperation at the end. I guarantee you that wasn't their first offer. They shot the big one out there. Said, man, we won't want the media rights for a while. We just want to be just associated with you. You know, we don't got to come into the party. We'll just stand outside and we'll just be the doorman.
Right.
And then the next one came, right? I said, listen, we even come with our own security team. Don't worry about having the frat boys out here. We got you covered. No, that's not good enough. All right, man. Listen, just tell us that we could possibly be in your frat. And if you just decide, or somebody decides in 5 years, you could just take us all out of the yearbooks, we're cool with that. Nah. We didn't want you at the beginning, and we don't want you at the end. Goodbye.
Thanks for playing. Speaking of goodbye, we got to get out of here, put an end to On the Block, but we're not done. We got Old School coming up next. Lots to get to in the NFL. Some interesting comments out of Jerry World from Jerry Jones directed at Micah Parsons. We'll certainly get into that. NFLPA is having itself a week. We'll talk about that. J.C. Treader also steps down, what that could look like for the league and the players, and some AFC South quarterback news. He's Jay. I'm Austin. This has been On the Block, brought to you by the Mercado. The Mercado also brings you Old School with Foreman and Orman. That comes your way right after this.